Hey, thanks so much for tuning into this Career Readiness Academy video. Let me ask you a question. What competency year after year after year after year tops the list of most desired skills by employers? You guessed it, oral and written communication. Now, all of the career readiness competencies have some link or some tie to career readiness in terms of career success, but this one is really interesting because it's one that we can almost make a direct link between how ready you are for a career and how well this competency is developed and vice versa. Matter of fact, Warren Buffett is credited recently as saying that one way to guarantee that you're going to be worth 50% more is to hone your communication skills, both written and oral. Just think about all the context where oral and written communication is going to be valuable in the workplace, even from the very minute that you step into an organization in terms of that job interview. If it's not there, that job's not going to happen. So we can really see that link with this one. Now, as a communication professor, I've always known the value of this competency. So all of my education, my background was always related to communication. So this was an easy sell for me. And yet, the more experience I get in working with students and working with businesses and working with leaders, I realize that this is one of those competencies that sometimes people take for granted because it seems very common sense. And yet it's always poorly practiced if it's not intentionally developed. And so what I want to encourage you to do when you think about and you utilize the resources within this module in the course is to think about it more than just speaking and writing. So we think about oral and written communication. Those are the easy ones, right? So being able to give a presentation, being able to write clearly, and most certainly those are important contexts. But I also want us to think a little bit more about some of the more nuanced contexts that we might face. So what would it look like to be able to develop skills in our students that they would be helpful for within speaking in one-on-one settings? So for instance, the day that comes when they have to have a difficult conversation with a colleague, difficult conversation with somebody that works for them. What about in the context of having to speak in a group or a team? Frankly, the things that are really difficult for our students and that drives them totally crazy, what would it look like for us to be able to be intentional about developing those skills in them right now? So those are some of the things that I want you to think about that you'll notice as you get into the Academy resources in here, is you'll see some of that. The other fundamental thing in terms of, in addition to thinking about the context, would be audience. So all throughout history, the one thing that's changed, methods and media change, but the the importance of audience-centered communication is something that will never go away. So be thinking about that as you're looking through the resources, as you're going to apply those, is be thinking about how the resources may help develop our students' ability to meet the audience where they are, meet their needs. So essentially you have an idea for a communication, and then you have the medium, but then what would be the audience for that? So those are things that are never going to change. I remember a professor in college once said that, we all know the phrase, it's all about who you know. Well, he used to add his own spin to that and say, it's all about who knows what you know. That's always been a mantra of mine ever since I became an educator, is to encourage students to think people don't know what you know unless you're able to explain what you know. And so really good way to think about circling back to the importance of oral and written communication. Clear expression and articulation of ideas is going to be critical, and it might just be the career readiness competency that's going to help you become worth more than 50%, worth 50% more throughout your career. And so again, thanks for watching this Career Readiness Academy video. Dr. Fike signing off here. Be sure that you share your best practice for developing oral and written communication in your students in the discussion board. And then of course, send me any wins and challenges and questions you have at jeremyfike@gmail.com. Thank you.